Imran Ahmad.
Madam Deputy Speaker, just like the overwhelming majority of members, I was returned to this House on the promise of getting Brexit done. I'm an ardent supporter of Brexit and look forward eagerly to the opportunity to bolster the United Kingdom's position by becoming an independent, self-governing nation possessed of the confidence that flows from our vision and principled values. Whilst I stand foursquare behind the government's policies and objectives, including those advanced by the UK Internal Market Bill, I cannot vote for legislation that a Cabinet Minister stated from the dispatch box will break international law. Before I was returned to this House, I spent many years in distant, sometimes dangerous places on behalf of our country, our closest friend, the United States, NATO and the UN, where I was committed to upholding the international rules-based system, which is the only shield we have against the law of the jungle. The rules-based system is, of course, one the United Kingdom was proud to play a central role in building. I have every sympathy with Her Majesty's government and place the responsibility for the impending denouement firmly with the EU, as they haughtily refuse to deal with the UK as a sovereign equal, such as our sibling Canada. The Northern Ireland Protocol was agreed on the assumption that Brussels would provide an off-the-shelf trade deal, with no bells and whistles, as Monsieur Barnier himself offered. That would have been no more than a light-touch border between Britain and Ulster. The EU has moved the goalposts. The prospect of a no-deal rapture and intra-UK trade tariffs has constitutional implications for the United Kingdom, creating a much harder trade border in the Irish Sea than Unionists supposed. It therefore intrudes ineluctably on the Belfast Agreement. I give way.
I really appreciate the member giving way, and I appreciate the points that he's actually making, which are very, very important to this debate. But is he appalled by one of the suggestions that was made tonight from this side of the House, that we would invoke America to stop doing a trade deal with the United Kingdom? Because we would invoke America to stop doing a trade deal with the United Kingdom just because of this? Is he appalled that someone in this Parliament would invoke America to do that? Is he appalled that someone would do it just to save little bits of paper between Northern Ireland and GB doing trade? Is he appalled by that? Because I am.
I'm mildly surprised. I worked for some time for the Pentagon and the State Department. I know the Americans very well. And like the United Kingdom, it is a nation built upon laws. It has representatives, and the Americans know their national interest exceptionally well. And of course, it is in the American national interest to have an expansive, ambitious free trade agreement with the United Kingdom, given our size and wealth. But it is not only certain members of this House who make peculiar statements. I have no sympathy for the hysterical, hypocritical and hyperbolic statements from the EU, declaring that the UK will be uniquely in breach of its international commitments. Half the countries of the EU are in breach of their various treaty obligations. Germany and France both choose to deliberately breach their EU treaty commitments relating to budget deficit limits, and others are famous for being selective in deciding which rules to follow. However, the UK has always held itself to a higher standard. Our principles of fair play and freedom, underpinned by the rule of law, are who we are. They are part of our DNA and must be protected. Our position of global leadership and permanent membership of the Security Council is derived not from being a victorious power, but from our moral authority. Moral authority is hard-earned and easily lost. Once damaged, it's difficult to repair. Having consulted with highly respected experts in international law, some of us have concluded that if the EU, in breach of its obligations to act in good faith and with best endeavours, employs the withdrawal agreement as a Trojan horse, then this bill, if enacted and employed, will not necessarily constitute a breach of our commitments, either under UK or international law. Rather, the bill then serves as a protection against the abuse of our good nature and a reminder to the Commission of its obligations. I give way.
Thank you for giving way, but there's also been other legal opinions sought as well. One of those is Martin Howe QC. He refers to the alteration of the constitutional status of Northern Ireland, which across-the-board tariffs on GB to Northern Irish exports would entail, would breach the core principle of the Good Friday Agreement. International law does not justify a later treaty to which these community representatives are not parties being used to override the rights that they enjoy under the earlier treaty. Another legal opinion may be very different from the honourable members.
Well, my great problem with what the government position is the predicament the government has placed us in. People who share my view, and I think you probably share it, the gentleman shares it too, because that view has been undermined, I'm sad to say, by the assertion of a government minister that it would represent a specific and limited breach.
Agree with me that the government has only been put in the situation because the EU has not been playing with the straight bat. If the European Union played this straight and treated us like equals, then we would not be in this situation. And in fact, the fault for all this lies with the European Union for not actually treating us fairly.
I entirely agree with my honourable friend in so much as the EU has not been playing with a straight bat. But that still doesn't, I believe, I find it difficult to understand the statement, the motivation behind it, or indeed the credibility of the comment, because I simply reject the notion that we would be in breach of our international obligations. We've been placed in a predicament because of that statement, because it would represent specific and limited breach of international law. And I will only be able, if my right honourable friend, in his response to this debate, can provide assurances to the House that Her Majesty's Government shares my interpretation, our interpretation, that such powers, if enacted and employed, would not automatically constitute a breach of our legal obligations, will I support the bill.